Hello, welcome to episode 2 of WiseNoise. I'm out here in another rainy day in a Boyne in Aberdeenshire, taking my lunchtime walk around the green. I'm Pierce O'Halloran, by the way. I am the host of this podcast and the founder and graphic designer behind Wise Love Studio. This episode of the podcast, I have Chris Wilson on to chat to me. Chris is a guy I've known for quite a while now. One of those folk at these design talks, always in the corner. Big, tall, lovely guy, always a smile on his face. Lovely chap. And proper Glasgow. Good chat. And excellent work. And we get into that in this podcast. I'll pick out some of my favourite projects that he's done, and we waffle on about those. And yeah, it's good to sort of get into the bones of some of the projects. And he's very honest about the pressures he was under with those. And yeah, we talk about generalism versus specialism. We're both quite generalist. He makes quite a statement about his quote-unquote polyamorous creative practice, which I always love. He doesn't make any bones about the fact that it's just him, but delivering agency-level work, you know. Yeah, I'm going to make this short because it's actually freezing out here. I'm going to do a quick lap and come back to the warm safety of my office. But yeah, one of the things I need to say at the top of the show, because I didn't do it last time, is that the music you hear is by Callum MacLeod, aka Mother Night. The track is called Flakes by Mother Night. Callum is a good pal from the Isle of Lewis, and I really love his musical output, which is slightly on hiatus now, but I think he will start making music very soon. But I did love his Mother Night project, as he described it himself, the pagan pop music from a cold, dark island. And it was just when I was putting the podcast together, and these platforms, they were like, oh, insert a jingle with AI, use 11 Labs. I was like, no, thank you. No, thank you. I want an actual human voice composed by humans, please. Instruments played by actual human beings, because I like human beings. I'm one myself. So I went through Callum's, I instantly knew there's like loads of grooves and hooks on his music, which I love. And yeah, Flakes is the theme tune for the podcast. So go check him out. What I'll do at the outro is I'll play the full track for you. And if you like that, go seek out some Mother Night, go onto the Bandcamp, download some of his tracks. Yeah, support humans. It's a weird thing to be saying, is like, you know, support Team Human. I mean, that was such a default thing for many centuries. It's just weird that I actually have to ask you to go and support humanity. God, it's quite boggy in these places, and I'm not wearing appropriate footwear. Anyway, that's enough from me. Let's get stuck into the podcast. Let the Wi-Fi do its work, you know. But
that was it.
Yeah, man. It was the last time I saw you was at INTL in Glasgow. Did you have a good time with that?
Aye, great. Like, these things are, I think you always come away feeling quite motivated.
Yeah.
Like, it's such a diverse group of speakers as well.
Yeah,
so
amazing,
I think from that, like, it's quite good. You learn a lot of new stuff, and I think coming away from it thinking, right, I shouldn't be doing things that way. That's maybe a better way that they've done, or stuff like that. Yeah. So I think there's always been nuggets you take away from these things.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Yeah, it's a really good kind of retreat to kind of step away from the desk and go to these conferences. But yeah,
who's your highlights on the day then?
So who would have been my highlight?
Besides,
I actually liked, but besides who?
Besides meeting me,
Besides, I was like
the inspiration.
That was the. I was going to say that was the major highlight. Getting to sit so close to you through the entirety of it. That was good. No, I'm trying to remember the name. Was it Yonk they were called?
Oh,
the
yeah.
Kind of VR, 3D, kind of strange looking sculptural stuff. Like I loved that.
Yeah.
Like
that was insane.
I thought that seemed like a really cool approach. Like, just something different to anything I'd ever seen.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
Like, I done a wee bit of 3D, but that was so cool. Like.
Totally bad. Yeah, the way they hooked up sort of old PlayStations and were like sort of using those to sort of do the 3D animation, and that way of just hacking into analog hardware to use that as part of the design process was just like, wow.
It's cool. It's just looking at it differently, isn't it? Like trying to think a different way to do things.
Yeah. Just using this outdated technology, and like we're always kind of geared towards what's the new latest thing, and they were just like, right, let's pull out the old Sega Mega Drive and see what we can how this can kind of how the limitations of this could actually work for us. It's amazing. But yeah, Yonk were good. I really loved, she was first on, but Talia Cotton was just like, I thought she was next level, man. I actually listened to a really good podcast with her, but I think she's kind of like proper genius, in terms of, because her agency are the only ones kind of branding through code, are the only ones that are properly using that in a really groundbreaking way. I think that there's the GPR branding that has like an infinite number of logos that are generated by code. And you're like, whoa, because she was even talking about having to write whole kind of software codes just to kind of like get the idea going. And you're like, man, I just do the shapes on a bit of paper. That's how I get.
I was going to say, I pick a pencil up. That's my version of whatever she was doing. But like, that's next level stuff. Like,
oh yeah, it's felt as though she was like university level and I was still CBBS. You know what I mean? I was just like, whoa, that's mental. But yeah,
I totally agree.
Yeah, no, it was so fabulous, man. Yeah, but yeah, no, really great event. Yeah, I was I'm not doing the backstory thing because you were recently on the Creative Boom podcast. Everybody can hear about your backstory here. I do have actually sounded of bed music. I do have this is the synopsis was he was a boy from Clydebank, grew up in the mean streets of Clydebank. A knife attack nearly fatally wounded him, but he rose up through the flames to become one of Glasgow's premier designers. His name is Chris Whistler. So that's basically that. That was that.
Wow, that was beautiful.
That was the whole podcast. But yeah, I've only listened to it recently, and it was great to get the backstory. But I do want to just signpost people to that to get to Katie Cowan's
to get the full story,
the full backstory. This is the prequel to this one, because I do have notes from that though. You were in a band, yeah?
Yeah. I was in a band called Fracture.
Fracture, because that's it. I was like, I kept guessing what the heck is the name of the band, because you supported Bad Religion, yeah. Because I was a bit of a fan of Bad Religion. That sort of Epitaph Records, wasn't that the record label? With the Offspring were on that.
Epitaph or Geffen,
yeah.
So
but I just remember bands from that era, that Offspring, Bad Religion, that kind of like punk hardcore scene. So that was Fracture. You were a punk hardcore kind of stuff.
Definitely not on the hardcore. Much more on the probably pop punk. Kind of getting into a wee bit harder. Kind of the last EPs and stuff we done got a wee bit kind of less pop punky. But we done all right. And the thing is, getting the Bad Religion slot was no reflection on the quality of our music. I think it was more we had a manager and he knew the right people, and we managed to get that support slot. So it wasn't on merit, as in like we were anywhere close to the level of Bad Religion. It was more, we need a local support. These guys sound as if they play quite fast. We'll get them up first.
Right,
They'll sell some tickets.
Yeah. It wasn't the guys like in Bad Religion going, if you don't get Fracture, we're not going on the stage tonight.
No, definitely not. I mean, we could kid on that it was, if you want, like just to up my ego a bit, but no, it was much more last minute. Can we get somebody local, and have they got enough of a following that they'll sell some tickets for us? And I think it was more that.
Wow. So it must be at the Barrowlands, yeah.
It was so it's called. It was the Carling Academy, but it's the O2 Academy
okay,
now.
Yeah. Oh, wow, that's a massive venue, actually. Yeah.
So it's good. It was what was quite nice, it was quite full for us going on stage, because now sometimes when you're the support act, like people are starting to filter in like a bit later and stuff like that, but it's still quite packed. So nice. I think when you're playing with a band like that, who obviously at that point you're kind of looking up to and thinking, right, that's the level you kind of want to be at, like it's pretty nerve-wracking. Like you're in there and you're like, right, okay, I'm going on this stage. But it was great. We didn't get booed, which is good. So I suppose, and we never get hit with anything, so I suppose that's a pretty good sign.
Yeah, absolutely. That's the base level you're operating from as a sport band. People were mildly disinterested. That's probably as good as you can get for a support band.
And I was happy with that. Absolutely happy.
Yeah. You weren't getting
some people put a pint down at one point and actually looked towards the stage to listen for maybe a few seconds and then look back. So I was delighted with that.
So how was the nerves for that gig, man?
Aye, pretty nerve-wracking. Like we'd played a few, we'd headlined King Tut's a few times prior to that, and we'd done a wee mini tour thing over in Nijmegen in Amsterdam.
No way.
So
cool.
we'd played a few bits over there. So we'd played a lot of different places, all the usuals in Glasgow, like 13th Note and places like that. And but this was definitely the biggest venue we'd ever played, and obviously the biggest support slot.
Yeah, of course.
So you can imagine you're going on there feeling pretty shaky. But it's like anything else. I think once you get into the first song, it's plain sailing for then on. Like you're pretty much in the zone.
Yeah, totally, man. I just remember from like my stand-up comedy days, like I would always have this really short, sharp joke, like just come out. What was it? I had a few of them, but I was like, it was just to kind of get a laugh in the room. If I kind of just got people laughing, then I'd be like, okay, I can kind of slightly relax if I got that feedback. I just have a saying, oh, sorry, I'm totally late. I broke down on the way here. I remembered how much my dad did love me. So that's.
Well, the thing is, where does it go for there? Do you know what I mean?
No, but
it's a good way to open.
Yeah, it was a crap joke, but I would just have to get a joke out, as in I just would have to get that laugh, because then if you just get that one kind of laugh, then you can relax. Well, probably the same with the music. As soon as the chords start up, you're like, okay, I know what to do now.
The difference is, though, I mean, I was in the band, I was the lead singer, so like I didn't have to worry about messing up, like playing the notes wrong or my instrument breaking or failing or anything, because it's basically just me with a mic. But I did the 4 people that could share that nervousness, whereas that must be a different kettle of fish when it's just you standing on the stage yourself, all eyes on you.
Yeah, it's like the probably most mentally harrowing thing that you could do, like in terms of, because that's why people were saying like, oh, I'm so nervous about this design talk, and I'm like, what the hell are you talking about? You're just getting up there with slides to talk about, like, if you're funny, it's a total bonus. Like nobody's expecting you to like, but if it's just you solo and everybody's expecting, like, if you don't make us laugh, you're kind of slightly hated. So it's like, yeah, man, it's totally nerve wracking. I used to have like bad gigs, like there's sometimes like you would still kind of like psychologically wake up in the middle of the night going, oh God. That gig, there's one particular gig in Kilmarnock. It just kind of occasionally pops into my head, and I just go, I need to lie down for half an hour. I'm still processing the horror and the shame from like dying on my arse in Kilmarnock. I used to call them like laughovers. So it was like if your gig went bad, you genuinely don't want to get out of bed the next day or face
Oh, that's
people.
horrible.
It's like similar to a hangover, except it's just pure kind of emotional pain. But yeah, such as I always felt jealous of
Not
bands
something
where
I
like,
would be doing.
yeah, no,
I could never
absolutely.
do that.
I do look at bands and I kind of go like, yeah, well, it's easy for you guys if you can just, even if the crowd doesn't really hate you, unless they're throwing bottles of urine at you, it's pretty okay.
Mm-hmm.
You can get through it.
The bar's always set pretty low. I think,
yeah.
like the fact that they want you, there's an emotional response and that comedic response that they're expecting from you. It's like make me laugh. It's almost like this, the pressure put on you. Whereas music, it's just half of them are drunk as well, so it doesn't really matter.
Yeah. There isn't. You used to write the lyrics for the band, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So is there?
Yeah.
Is there any way in that writing process that like that feeds into any of your design disciplines just now?
Probably the copywriting side of things. Like if you think about writing songs, it's really just they're probably reflections of things or experiences that have happened to you. So there's a level of storytelling through it. So I think copywriting's pretty much the same thing in it. It's like, how can I make this brand sound more like the story it's got, or what's the thing behind it that's got a human connection? I suppose music's like that as well. It was more of an outlet for me, probably more than anything. Like it was kind of like almost journaling, like but obviously it's put to music. So there was a wee bit of that. I mean, the stuff at the beginning, I think we were together for about 4 or 5 years. The first songs were all about, as you can imagine, girlfriend and all this sort of heartbreak and all that sort of stuff. But it got like as it kind of went on, things got a wee bit deeper. I started leaning a wee bit more into the political side of things. Like I like bands like Propaganda and things like that. So like it started to lean a wee bit, but then it was split up. So we never know how serious it would have got. But I definitely went from like immature naivety to like trying to be older than I probably, or more intelligent sounding than I was.
Yeah. Because I remember like you quoted some band lyrics when you were on the Creative Boom podcast about if you burn bridges, you have to learn how to swim. But it's funny that, like, in terms of, similar to me, like music became so important to me because like that, I would pour over lyric sheets and there was a lot of things kind of like listening to Rage Against the Machine where you started to kind of, that actually genuinely switched you on to like, politics and lighting up the brain. Yeah. So there's certain kind of lyrics that always stay with you in terms of like mantras and kind of guiding you through life,
Yeah, definitely.
But yeah, there's a thing where I was thinking about it in terms of like joke writing that I think there was similarities in terms of with the design process, because I know Jerry Seinfeld, he used to talk about doing routines, and he would talk about, even going in and shaving off like little words and stuff. So he was like a proper like crafting routines. So he would, if the setup was too long, he would try and just tighten it up, because if the setup's too long, then the punchline won't land kind of as much. So the tighter you can make the setup, the bigger the kind of punchline will come. And the more time you have to make the audience wait to kind of get the punchline, the more their expectations are kind of ramped up. So if you can kind of get to it quicker, then you'll probably get like a bigger laugh, So, and there was a similar processes in terms of like, that's what kind of, if you're doing a logo design or whatever, you're just trying to constantly tighten it up until you get like the maximum amount of information in the most efficient way possible. So I kept saying to people, like, when you're actually writing comedy or whatever, there's a similarity I find in terms of like that logo design, or sometimes there's you're trying to get something make the funny thing work, and then you'll just find something and you're like, that's exactly what it should be. Similar to the light bulb moments in branding systems, etc.
I mean, there was definitely periods where, like, as much as I wrote the lyrics, we would collectively as a kind of band write the songs together. So like maybe it would be sometimes somebody would come in with a piece on guitar and you'd be like, oh, that's pretty cool, or a wee riff, and then the bassist John would be like, oh, well, that maybe sounds quite nice with this, and look, we would kind of build it. So there was definitely that kind of refinement and development, and especially a couple of the ones that we thought, right, we play these ones all the time, we enjoy them. There was that wee constant refinement. Every time you played it, it'd be like, actually, what if you did that instead? Or maybe the wee riff part becomes a bit more intricate. So like over the years of playing the same songs, you would start to kind of finesse it. And I think it's just so that it lands better. Like it's, or some of the songs you would go, like you said there about the build-up with the jokes and stuff, like the longer it takes, there's that anticipation. But like equally with music, you can kind of do that as well. There's that kind of build-up, and obviously if you date for too long, people get bored. But then sometimes if it's just that kind of smack in the face of like this wee kind of chord that you weren't expecting or something like that, then it kind of lands. And I suppose design is very much like that as well. It's like you're trying to think, how can I make this thing different? How can I make it stand out? Like what can I strip away? What's too much, and what can I strip away to really get to it? So I think there's loads of correlations. It's amazing how many creatives you actually find are in bands or musically driven or like massive, they might not play instruments or be musically talented, but they love music. Like I think they kind of go hand in hand. There's definitely something to do with music and the creative industries that they feel kind of interlocked.
Yeah, no, absolutely, yeah. I do find music is a massive part of like being in the studio. Here, me is just like I need to have music all the time on. But the creative process, creatives are just naturally into other creatives, different fields. There's I don't think there's any kind of largely any difference once you're sort of in that space between sort of art, music, design. They're just different sort of disciplines of the same sort of modes of expression, you know. So yeah, this is getting a bit stale and boring. So I'm going to get blow some smoke up your arse.
All right, lovely.
Okay.
and are we going to record that? Is this turning into an OnlyFans episode or? Euphemistically.
I'm going to blow smoke up your arse. You're familiar with the phrase, yeah?
Yeah.
Is it like, because that's it? I'm trying to figure out whether, I don't think it is. I was actually Googling it because I wanted to find out the etymology of it. And it was actually, takes its name from a literal practice from sort of the medieval ages where they would blow smoke up somebody's arse to actually revive them from a coma or something like that.
Right?
Yeah. So it's like, so it was literally, it started out as something literally blowing smoke up your arse. But I've only heard it in Scotland, so I thought it was a Scottish phrase, which suits the kind of crass vernacular that I hear a lot of the time in Scotland.
I mean, I definitely know what it is that you're talking about. Like, I know what it means, but I didn't know where it stemmed from or the etymology. I never know its origins, but that's good to know.
Why
people were in comas and they were literally paints a picture, doesn't it?
Yeah, no, absolutely. So if you see someone passed out in the street next time, just fucking go into a vape shop and then go like, right, I stand back, everybody.
I've got this.
I got this. Dr. Vape coming through.
No more. Like, was it Vinnie Jones? I think it was on that. The advert. It was like the Staying Alive thing or something like that. You're supposed to push down on somebody's chest for giving them CPR.
Yeah.
So like maybe there could be a new campaign for the vape blowing up the arse resuscitation technique.
Right, I'm scribbling this down. This is going to be a self-initiated project. We're going to make this happen.
That's it.
Give me Vinny's number.
Get him on the phone.
So I'm going to blow smoke up your arse, or sort of likely waft a scented candle around your nether regions, Chris. That's what I'm going to do. I'm going to talk about 3-year projects that I like, and you just to get a chat about them. So I really love this Duck and Durs, which is a pub in Partick, which you've done the branding for. One of the things that I like is working with brands on the Isle of Lewis, etc. You kind of work with Gaelic language and get into that sort of Celtic style and making that slightly contemporary. So I kind of think this is a fabulous example of in that field. And so you did the branding for a pub in Partick. Do you want to talk about that and how it came about?
Yes. It was they approached me to basically do. Initially, it was a menu design. So
Okay.
they said, "Could you come up with this menu? As part of the menu, would you maybe look at if there's something we can do with our logo, because we feel that it's a bit too much. There's a lot happening in it." So I think they were just struggling whenever it was like at a small scale, you could barely read it and stuff like that. And I said, well, okay, like kind of most of the projects that I tackle, I was speaking to them about, look, if you thought about like how this then rolls out, like if it's just going to be the logo and just going to be the menu, like obviously the pub at the minute, all your signage is going to need to get revised as well. And they're like, right, okay. And then I was like, then all your beer mats, like basically everything that there's some sort of customer touch point with the logo mark on it, it's going to have to change. And they were like, right, okay, well, what would that look like, and what do you suggest? So then it was a case of going through and giving them almost like rescoping the project, so rather than it just being, okay, come in for a menu and a logo and now I'm doing absolutely everything. We just said, right, okay, let's tackle every point that the customer interacts with when they're there. And they were keen to, obviously, they had to keep the name, so that couldn't change. And they were keen to keep the duck, like somehow, like that had to stay part of it. So it was just, really, how do I take that on and kind of, like you had suggested there, modernise it, but try and retain some of those key characteristics that they had for the previous logo. So simplified the logo mark itself, but kept in the kind of wee small, the kind of wee feature of the lines going across the D's. And then it was a matter of looking at the duck and thinking, right, what elements of it are they trying to push in terms of like the mark itself and what they're trying to say. So that's why we've got the wee established symbol still in there. You've got the wee hops on its kind of chest that are like the feathers to represent the kind of beers. And also for them, they were a kind of more of a traditional kind of old man pub type thing, and they were looking to try and entertain like the kind of younger clientele. So they said, we're a free house, which basically means they don't have to sell certain beers or drinks, so it's not a distillery owned pub. So they said, look, we're going to get all these varieties of different gins and different beers. Craft beers are on the rise. We're trying to get so they'll change them out in that sort of approach that they'd never done before. So they wanted something that felt much more contemporary and kind of a wee bit more premium than the previous kind of setup that they had. So that was it. We just started off with the kind of logo, and then it was a matter of taking photos of the exterior and then kind of mocking up what it might look like, and then right down to like the glassware, using this kind of almost rectangular motif that then became the window graphics, and putting in some of the things that they wanted to kind of explain about themselves, about the free house and stuff like that. And then, as always, it's always a case of, right, what else have we got? Right, we've got beer mats, and perfect. Right, we've got the kind of runners that sit on the bar, and just a matter of working that kind of brand visual style through it. They also had they wanted a template set up where they could basically just change it up for events. So if they were doing like a quiz night and things like that. So that's the example you've kind of got on the screen there. But it actually came through someone, Martin McCready, he owns a photography studio. And at that point I was actually working, he gave me a desk space in his studio. And he knew the owners, and it was through that. They basically said, oh, look, if you're looking for something, Chris, can I do logo design if you want to get in touch? And then it came from that.
Brilliant. Yeah, no, it's fabulous. I'd like to finally get the definition of what a free house meant.
Aye. I didn't know myself until I started working with them. I didn't know what it was.
So I have to see that free house and go, all right, you're free from the trappings of a distillery or a brewery, right? But no, as you can see there, I love the sort of how everything's kind of brought through right to those flyers for quizzes or posters. You know, all the elements are kind of working together. It's fab, man.
Thanks, man. Cheers.
And some great photography as well. Is this you kind of going out doing the snaps of when it was all done and dusted?
Yeah. So the one with the 2 whiskey is shot in my studio.
Yeah, okay.
So that's just I set that up in the studio with the lighting, and the other ones are in the bar. So they are the actual things. Once they get printed up, I just took them into the bar and took some photos of them. I think that one might be a mock-up, or maybe I did shoot that one. But all the items, that's the advantage, I suppose, when you go through a process like this and you have all the printed materials and the stuff that's actually made, you can just photograph it. So it's so much easier than having to be like, right, let's try and Photoshop this and mock it up. So like all the photography, like out on the street and stuff, I just set my camera up and was waiting for the buses to pass, try to wait for cars to move, and just sitting waiting.
Yeah.
But I think you can see the menu and stuff just behind my head there, just sitting up on the shelf.
Oh, yeah, cool.
But it was a great project. It was really good. I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, no, it was absolutely brilliant, man. And I do think it's one of those, because I remember the Duck and Doris. Do you know what Duck and Doris means? Because I think it's like Doris means door in Scottish, and Duck would be like drink, as in.
I thought it meant like there's a few different explanations out there of what it means. I think I've got it on one of the coasters that it meant like one for the road or something like that. Like or
probably like
along the lines of that.
Because Doris being door is like one before you head out the door type of thing. Duck and Doris.
So I think that's pretty much like, I don't know. There was a few different kind of things, and also I think their spelling of it was slightly different from when you search for it. But like I say, they had the name, and it was just a case of kind of reinventing what that looked like.
No, because I stayed in Partick for a while, and I passed it pre-branding, and I do think.
All right, that was very different.
Yeah, very different, but I think you've kind of retained a lot of kind of what was, it doesn't feel as though you've kind of completely chucked out a lot of that kind of, it was a traditional element to it, like, and it's kind of proud of its heritage as such. So I think all of that is kind of remained, but still appealing to that what's the gentrified Partick crowd.
Hi.
I'm gonna have to dive into the one drop or the only drop project, which is sort of like one of your kind of top projects in terms of feedback, etc. And I do think, from my perspective as well, because I know you're talk about being multidisciplined, but I really think this brought in other elements of like product design and packaging and the graphics, and I do think this is a fabulous project that shows off kind of you been stretched in different directions and mastering them all. So do you want to talk about the only drop and how that came about then?
Yeah. So this came about through, I was working with the whiskey company, Morrison Scotch Whisky Distillers, and through that there was a couple of contacts who had put me in touch for this job. So I think it's like most times in the industry, if you're working for one client that are within a certain sector and you do a good job, or that you're working with a marketing team and they put your name forward, you tend to get put forward for more stuff that of a similar vein. So I was lucky to kind of be put forward for this project, and it was like a double project I was working on at the same time. So like the whiskey you can see above my finger there, that was the 40-year-old one. So I initially got brought in to look at the 40-year-old, and that was part of our project. And then as a byproduct of this was also part of it. They said, look, we've got this other project, do you want to be involved in that? So it's basically so I don't know if you know so much about like the project or how it came about, but the Distillers 1 of 1 is a kind of 2-year, every second year it's an event that they have where all of the distilleries basically give a one-off bottle or something that's unique. It could be a barrel of whiskey, it could be a bottle, it could be an experience, and they put it up for auction via Sotheby's. And what they do is all the money that's raised for that goes towards helping the Youth Action Fund in Scotland. So like so it basically helps through education, through work placement for young people. So every second year they have this auction. So the Scotch Malt Whisky Society, they as a brand, basically they don't have a distillery, so they get access to distilleries and to unique whiskies that not the general public can get access to. And what they do is you can become a member of the Scotch Malt Whisky Society and you get access to them at their venues across the country. So you can go in as a member and sample these whiskies, or you can buy via the site. So because they're not a distillery, they don't have probably the kind of prowess or the name as big as these sort of larger whiskey companies, they wanted to put a bottle in but create a standout, something that was going to stand them in the same kind of level as a lot of these other distilleries that were there. The advantage that a lot of those ones have is they can craft a crystal glass bottle from scratch, or I think it's John Galvin that does pretty much most of the expensive bottles, the boxes for them.
Yeah.
So they never had the advantage of that sort of budget, I don't think, for him or for like Glasstrom, who do a lot of the kind of crystal glass. But what they did say was, look, you've got a blank canvas. We've got a bottle that can't be changed, which is the kind of silhouette style glass that they had. We want you to come up with something that's going to be memorable, that's going to get eyes on it, and that's going to raise money to get as much as we can for this good cause. So that's basically how it came out, and that's what the brief was. There wasn't much of the restriction was, you've got that glass to play with, go ahead, come up with something crazy. So there was a few options that were presented to them, but this is the one that we ended up going with. And yeah, so the idea behind the whole thing was, because of the rarity of the liquid that is in this, because it's a one-off. It was originally called Uska Bear, which is like water of life, instead of the only drop. But we were worried a bit about like the translations and the fact that it was going out as a global auction and stuff like that. So we refrained from doing that, and it was just called the only drop. The idea was I could only add something to the bottle. So, like, because the bottle was the way it was, I couldn't resculpt the glass. It was, how do we bring something to it that kind of elevates it, gives it this premium look and feel. I landed on this idea of this kind of ripple, because it's the only drop. This idea of the liquid's the hero. What can we kind of do with that? So you'll see there on the kind of the bottle, the formation is basically this disc that's a kind of ripple on its side. Mm-hmm. And as part of the kind of storytelling behind it, it was really, how do we take almost and celebrate the craft of like what goes into making a whiskey, like the time spent, all those aspects of it, and water's obviously at the heart of that as well. So it was like, how do we like reunite the whatever we're doing is this kind of casing. So like, we got shavings from the original cask and put them into a paper pulp sculpture. So like the veining that looks kind of almost marble-esque that's on it there is actually just shavings from the original cask that it came in.
Wow.
So again, it was this idea of, how do we take like the part that typically once it's out of the cask and it's in the bottle, they're never like reunite. It was, how do we reunite that? So that was kind of part of this storytelling. It's like, obviously during maturation, they're entwined, and that's what creates the flavour of the whiskey. And then it's sad that obviously one leaves, one goes in the bottle, and that's it. So it was sort of this wee celebration of reuniting them. And then in terms of like the decision to go with the paper pulp things, I had the company, James Cropper, had a secondary company called Colourform, and I'd went to one of their exhibitions and got some of their samples of some stuff they were doing. So when I had this idea of like encapsulating the bottle as this kind of sculptural thing, I contacted them. So when I started speaking to them, and it got to a point where I had done the sketches, done the mock-ups, and part of my product design background of like kind of measuring up how I think it would work and shaping the sizes and stuff, I'd taken it to a point where I couldn't take it any further in terms of like producing prototypes or producing how it would actually be made. So they put me in touch with a company, Matter, who are based down south, and they are a kind of product design house. So they do like prototyping, they do kind of small batch run stuff, both traditional and kind of do 3D printing and these sort of techniques. Once I was kind of collaborating with them, it was perfect, because they were able to bring their technical expertise mixed with like, okay, we've got it like this, that won't work, what if we try this? And it was just this kind of back and forth on seeing how we could retain all of the elements that seemed features, but obviously make it work, because it had to actually physically work. Because it's one thing going for a fancy looking render or a mock-up to actually having the physical thing. Mm-hmm. So once we kind of had that down and knew how it was going to work, and they were beginning to make the molds and to sculpt that through, I was working on the bottle as well, obviously, at this point, because parts of it need to align. So the front drop on the front of the paper pouch, the paper pulp, matches with a ripple that's on the bottle. Mm-hmm. Now, typically, if you were going to mould a bottle or have some form of decorative thing on it, you would do it in mould. So you would basically have these expensive moulds, you would have it cast, and then basically when the bottle gets blown, the glass gets blown, it would have that on it. But because I was stuck with the bottle I had, I wanted to have the idea that it looked as if it had that, like as if it had an emboss on it. So we worked with a company, I'll try to remember the name. Image on Glass, up north, and it was about trying to say to them, how can we kind of do that? Is there a way where we can, like almost like a spot UV, that you would do on paper, but is there a way of doing that to a bottle? So we worked at this way of doing like a high build varnish onto
Right.
it
Okay.
that was like repeated till it got to a kind of certain height that almost looked like an emboss. And then that's when you take the sleeve off, you can see that's on the bottle, the kind of rings.
Yeah.
The rest
Just
of it
back
was
up
just
here.
how do we bring foiling into it? So again, this idea of the copper. So again, that's done digitally onto the bottle, so you can see it for the age 33 years.
Right.
And
Okay.
then
Yeah.
yes, so so that's direct to bottle rather than having a label. And again, the reason behind that was we wanted a lot of the light to come through the liquid and hero the liquid.
Mm-hmm.
And also, if you scroll up a wee bit, just on the back where there's a wee light hole that's left where the monogram is.
On this one.
I just there. And that was to try and help the light cast from the back of the bottle to the front so that the wee droplet on the front would light up.
Yeah,
so like the light would
yeah.
actually
That being
fully
true.
transfer through it.
So
So there was just lots of these wee things that when you're going through the process, it's like, right, okay, how do we refine that? How's that going to work? How's this going to work? And each thing almost posed like another problem that you were like, okay. So even try to get the alignment of the tolerances between the paper sculpture and the wee round bit on the monogram was a nightmare, because there's a tolerance between digitally printing to a bottle and then the fact there's flex in the paper. Because obviously paper's it's not rigid. So again, try to work that out, and then again finishing it off with the kind of white wax at the top, and then one of the nice wee additives was the messaging on the back about only 1 gram left.
Yeah. That's nice little detail.
I just figured, because it's one of these things, it's like that once that bottle's gone, there is no more. There's only that liquid that's in that bottle, and that's why the wee 10 centilitre miniature that comes with it is so that the owner can actually taste it without having to open the actual bottle.
The actual
But
bottle.
it was an incredible project. It's one of these dream projects that you hear and you think, oh, I wish I could get a project like that. And I was just so lucky that it landed and they said free reign to just do what you want with it, which was incredible.
No, totally awesome, man. I'd like, as you said there, it's like, once you all well and good having these nice ideas on screen or like, in your sketchbook, but then when you come to the practicalities of it, is there you're kind of getting into like engineering problems, and so it kind of got you out of your comfort zone a bit, but you obviously must have kind of grown a lot during the project itself.
Yeah, definitely. There was lots to learn, and I think because I was, like I say, I was working on that project and the 40-year-old at the same time, and that's got a lot of working parts as well. It had like a wooden plinth. It's got an outer perspex case. It's got the bottle. It's got a small medallion on it. It's got a wax dipping that comes halfway, like a quarter down the collar.
Wow.
There's just a lot of things happening between these two processes. But to your point you made about like stretching like my skill set, like, it was definitely one of those ones where I was project managing a lot of the suppliers of that, like the whole thing basically, as in like I was so there was secondary parts to this. There was a short film that was made where I worked with Wonder Media to record it and do the edit, excuse me, and then there was worked with Martin, who I talked to earlier about, the photographer, to do all the photos for it, but then I was doing all the retouch and post. Worked with Dan Sim, a 3D artist who done the one of it floating that was at the top of the scene. So there was lots of parts throughout the project where I could only take it so far before I had to work with other people. Right down to the booklet there that you see, worked with Sharon at Caddy & Co to do all the printing and then foil embossing. And Juju Books for the production of the book. So there was just a lot of working parts where it was back and forth and email samples, like that sort of thing. And I think it was, I'm trying to think timeline, it was probably over the course of maybe like six months for the initial talks to final delivery. Wow. And then a wee bit after. So like that, probably in terms of like, there was wee gaps in between bits where we're waiting for samples and stuff like that. But it's the most intense I've ever worked on projects. Like the fact they were two simultaneously at the same time, and the amount of working parts was crazy. So it's definitely stretched me in terms of being like, I can do it all, and then being like, oh god, actually this is a steep learning curve to try and do any part of it, let alone like trying to oversee the whole thing.
Yeah, was there bits where you're like, oh, maybe a bit more than I can chew here?
Oh, aye, there was definitely like. definitely like head and hands could cry moments like numerous times throughout the project, and it's like it's nice now when I can reflect back on it and look at it and go like, oh, that was great, it was a success, and it came to fruition, it done well, it made money for the charity and stuff like that. But like when I was in it, it was really stressful. I think I talked on like in our few other podcasts about like the burnout side of things, and these two projects were what actually led to my first kind of major burnout, and it was just trying to do too much, really.
Yeah. I suppose, yeah, but you there's a growth in that aspect as well, in terms of like, you know, being a bit wary when a project like that comes in, and maybe at the start kind of delegating things a little bit, and sort of maybe just not taking on the full project management. But yeah. But it's a good thing that it's an absolute cracking outcome anyway.
Glad, I know. That's the thing. I think these things can go one or two ways. It's like you say yes at the start and you're like, I'll make it work. But then you're like, oh, but what if it doesn't? There's always that pressure. What if this is the one? What if this is the one that you just don't make it to the other side?
Yeah, but
thankfully it was okay.
The bottle sold for 18,750, so yeah.
Yeah. So it was great. Like not. I mean, that's small. Again, it's like in comparison to some of the ones that were the bigger distilleries going for like $500,000 and things like that. It's kind of like back to that whole me supporting Bad Religion again. It's like I was there doing the support act for the small one, and you've got the big players up here. It was great. It was great.
Yeah. Thank you very much, Sotheby's. Good night.
Mic drop.
Mic drop, yeah. So that was all very heavy. So let's lighten the load, and I'm going to get you to face the bingo wheel of wisdom. So this is whoa, I haven't fully figured out how to control it yet. Oh, there you go. It's pooped out a number. Let's see. These are quick fire questions in the bingo wheel of wisdom. So let me see. Let me get my numbers up. Where are we? 30. Clean desk or organized chaos?
Oh, clean.
Clean.
Definite. Clean for saying that. If I'm working on something physical like a packaging, and when I'm actually physically cutting stuff out and making up cutters, the place is a riot. But I always tend to make sure it's kind of tidy before the end of the night, because I like to leave knowing I'm coming back into the tidier desk. I think it's that clean desk, clean mind scenario for me.
Yeah.
I'm a wee bit like, make sure that's in its place.
I've got the camera facing the wrong way because that's like my kind of mess station over there. So that probably gives a bad impression. But this desk here with the monitors and all that, that's pretty clean. So I can have a nice mix. So I like the kind of chaos with the cleanliness. 39. What's the capital of Mongolia?
Not got a clue.
Oh well.
Do not have a clue.
Ulaanbaatar.
No, I would never have got that. I'm terrible at geography.
Look, you've got the lights going on. Waiting for the ball to come out. Huh?
That's just quite nerve-wracking.
I think this one is broken. Oh, there we go. I'm probably turning it the wrong way. Lucky for some, 13. What's the best non-fiction book you read? Or a good non-fiction book you read?
A non-fiction book?
Yeah. And you can't say the Bible.
I've not read that. I've read parts of it. I was brought up Catholic, so I've read parts of it.
We were properly kind of devout church every Sunday.
I was when I was younger. I used to go, but I stopped when I think it got to that point where I think like any good parents, they take you initially as a kid, and you go maybe unwillingly.
Yeah.
Then it gets to that kind of point where you go, do I need to go? And they say no, and you go, right, I don't think I'll keep going then.
Yeah.
I think there's a lot of good things come out of it in terms of like making you understand good for bad and things like that. But I think it gets to a point where you're kind of like, nah, I'm not sure this is for me.
Yeah.
So I was brought up Catholic, but I'm not a practicing Catholic.
That's a practicing Catholic. No, it's like, well, you weren't brought up in the total theocracy that was Ireland in the 80s, where there were certain teachers who would actually ask you who was the priest that said Mass on a Sunday. So they would go around certain teachers.
For God's sake.
So you'd actually have to ask like your church going mates, who did the mass? Because then like, that was one of the,
Brilliant.
that was one of the ways the sort of like the Stasi, the Catholic Stasi within the community would try and out you. Is like, did you go to mass on Sunday? And who was the priest? And you're Father O'Keefe. I was like, oh, damn.
Oh my God's sake.
So you actually had to, if you didn't go to mass, you were like quizzing other guys. Who said the mass? Who said the mass?
Aye. So I was going to say I didn't even answer your questions.
Oh yeah, the non-fiction book. Yeah. We said.
I'm one of these people, right? I don't know if you're like this, right? But I tend to buy a lot of books, and I read maybe like the first chapter of them, and then I'll see another book, and I'm like, oh cool, I'll buy that book, and then I'll move on to another one, and then I end up with a big pile of books. Like there's a big pile of them there that I try and work my way through, but they end up like reading hardly any of each of them. Although I did. There are a couple of books. The Creative Condition by Ben Talon. I've read through that, and Radham's 2 books that he had out recently. I've kind of read them. I think books like that I get stuck into. I think because I think there's a learning thing to it. Like I enjoy that, and it's kind of creative based. But I'm not a massive reader. I think audiobooks would probably work better for me, just because it's easier to pop it on while you're working away rather than actually having the physical book.
Same as myself, man. I kind of have like a crazy thing about the printed media where I have to keep losing track, But yeah, no, Radham's books are good, man. 42, the answer to life and everything. Who's your dream client?
Who's my dream client? Fuck. Okay. I think I would love to work with Lego.
Lego. Okay. Yeah.
I think it's just been such a permanent part of my life growing up, and I'm now kind of reliving the excitement of playing with Lego again with my son. And it's just one of those brands, I think, and you probably see I've got a couple of Lego guys up there on the shelf, but I've always had this fascination with it as a product, and like the imaginative side of it, and I've written about it. So like I think if a Lego ever came wanting to order me, that would be drop everything.
I'm gonna at Lego in this. I'm gonna post the podcast. Yeah. The campaign to get Lego as one on your client list starts here.
That'd be brilliant.
59. What's your daily average screen time?
I don't know. I don't actually know, but I'd say, I do spend a lot of time on the phone.
Yeah,
probably more than I should. Mainly, in fact, weirdly, I'm on LinkedIn more than anything just now.
Really,
more than Instagram, more than any of that sort of thing. I think Instagram's just lost it. It feels just like it's no the same as it used to be. And I used to be on it quite a lot, posting and speaking to people and stuff. And I found it quite a good place for inspiration. But I think because I've been leaning into the whole try to do more with the business and stuff like that, then I've been on LinkedIn trying to do my networking duties. A lot more. So my screen time's went up because of that. But I tend to try not be on the screen. Like I'm on it all day, sitting working. So like by the time I'm want to get home, I don't really want to be sitting on my phone.
Yeah, I know, man. I don't even want to go in and look at mine because I know it's bad. I don't even know how bad it is. But especially, I don't know, just January. I seem to, with dark winter months, I'm just stuck to the bloody thing. But I'll be better come the lighter days. It's funny, man. I do kind of like LinkedIn kind of gets a bit of a bad reputation in terms of some design communities, but I find it like one of the better platforms in terms of like people are like a lot nicer and the feed is a lot more chill in some respects. There's obviously like a lot of posturing and whatever goes on in there, but you can kind of filter out that crap. And like, I just have a feed of, to give it the Glasgow parlance, good cunts on my feed.
Aye. No, I agree. Like, I think there is a lot of that on it, where it's the peacocking, like, look at this, I've made X amount this month and all that sort of stuff. Like that shit I can't be bothered with. Like, but what I do like about it is there's a lot of people you can kind of like you say, if you curate the people that you connect with and that you follow, you can end up. It does feel quite community. Like I speak to a lot of people messaging wise and stuff, and I feel like you can. With LinkedIn, you feel as if you can dip in and dip out. Whereas I think with some of the other social ones, there's that expectation that if somebody's messaged you, like they want an answer now. And it's like with LinkedIn, I feel that it's no so much like that. But
No.
but I'm on a few of the other community-led things. Like I think I mentioned Radom there. He's got one that started up, and obviously the Creative Boom one, and the Right Aligned one as well. So like I'm on a lot of their kind of studio-led ones, like their private ones. I feel like they're much better. Just in terms of like everyone's there for the same reason, so it doesn't feel as kind of like buying an NFT or here's a crypto, here's some crypto tips or anything like that.
No, absolutely, and I think it's kind of the way forward in terms of like as you said, posting on Instagram is just like there's no way you're going to cut through all the crap that's on there. So I think in terms of like speaking to especially fellow creatives or designers of that kind of community, then all these smaller little kind of closed off communities that have sprouted up are like a much better use of your time and energy than the vast meta ecosystem. 21. A trip into space or a trip around the world?
Oh, space. It's got to be space.
Yeah, I have this, like, a lot of times I kind of bring that question up and people are like, oh, I want to go around the world. But I was like, I honestly think it'll be just like extraordinary to see the world from that kind of perspective. Because I keep reading, there's a guy, Chris Hadfield, like, you know, the astronaut, read his book, and it's like, he even brought out a photography book and it was like some stunning images. And he just, he talks about getting to know the rhythm of weather and, you know, you just, anyway, I just think you come back.
Space 100%, it's got to be. Like,
yeah.
Because I think, like, you grow up and you learn about it in school and all that sort of stuff, and I was fascinated with space, like all the planets, everything. Like, I loved all of that side of it. So, like, and plus it's not, you go, okay, I'm going to go around the world and visit these different planets. It's like, oh, so what did you do in your kind of summer off? Oh, I went to space. It's like, oh, well, you're not going to top that, are you? It's a pretty decent experience.
Yeah.
Okay, do I want to go on an all-inclusive trip again, or do I want to go to space? It's like, I'll take space.
Yeah, I was about to say there that, like, it's also a fairly exclusive club of humans, but now that, like, the billionaires are firing themselves up, and
true.
Like Katy Perry's on that list, it doesn't feel as exclusive or as highbrow or intellectual to go into. You know, there's a time where you would need to have a degree in astrophysics and have the strength of a Navy SEAL, and now it's like, you know, just get Katy Perry in a rocket and fire her up. You know, I don't know.
I know.
It's cheapening the experience.
Yeah.
Well, one more. Let's have one more.
Okay, yeah.
And then we'll move on to the from the wrong way. Oh, there we go. 45. What was the first gig you attended?
E17.
So wow.
It was. Now you can understand why my band was kind of pop punk and not like metal. But that was E17.
Yeah, let's go deep down on this one.
I think it was their Steam. It was their Steam tour, and it was at the STCKMN.
Nice.
It must have been. That was way back. That would have been like what, 90s.
But I take it was a largely female audience, though. Yeah, a lot of screaming girls.
Yeah,
at this
predominantly.
Thing. Yeah.
I went with my mum and my sister.
Class. What a class first gig.
It didn't, put it this way, it didn't stop me buying a t-shirt and knowing every lyric to every song.
No, absolutely. They got some pretty good moves, like, you know, the E17 boys. Wow.
I think Brian Harvey, did he not go off the rails a bit? He drove over himself with his car, I think, at one point. Yeah,
poor Brian. It was always going to go that way with Brian. You know, he wasn't the most intelligent of them. So he was always going to injure himself with his own vehicle at some stage.
Tony was the brains. He was the brains behind it. I think I don't know if he was a songwriter or something like that. Like, I watched a documentary not that long ago about them. Supposedly he got all the rights to the songs and the royalties and all of that side of it. So he done the smart thing.
Yeah.
He came out on top, definitely.
Yeah. But he was the actual writing the kind of songs dude, and the others were just like there was it like, because
eye
Brian
candy.
was, yeah, no, not even, but the other two guys, like I don't even know their names because there's Brian and Tony. At least Brian was like one of the main singers, but the other guys just went like, all right, and just did a bit of a dance, and they were just like total
They just
puppets.
donned the jackets with the furry hood. They were kind of like this, like the furry, like that,
Yeah.
for the Stay Another Day video or something like that. I
Yeah,
think one of our guys, I don't know if it's John, I think one of our guys, he's like a roofer or something now.
Okay, yeah.
It was through the documentary thing I'd seen it. He's basically doing roofing or something.
Yeah, well,
There you
I'm
go.
just trying to think of an E17 pun to go with that. I hope he's all right now. Anyway, forget about it. Forget about the puns. Right, so here's the heavy dessert menu, Chris.
Mm-hmm.
So we have to pick a selection to delve into for the last bit of the show. So of the industry topic. So you have how to price your work, the AI elephant in the room, red flags of a nightmare client, specialist versus generalist, self-promotion without the ick, avoiding burnout, your design and how to sell it, and things they never tell you in design courses.
Okay, right. Well,
what's your selection? Where are we going?
We could talk about specialist and generalist because I feel quite strongly about that. Like, about because basically I specialize in being a generalist.
Yeah.
Because I don't niche down. So I've always been this advocate of, like, I think that niching down's got its benefits if you can handle doing that one thing constantly for the rest of your life. Whereas I feel being a generalist and knowing a lot, well, maybe not a lot, a bit about a lot of things, just will stand you in better stead than maybe specifically doing one thing. Personally, for me, it's the excitement of doing different things rather than just feeling like I'm getting up every day and doing the exact same service or execution on something. So, like, jumping from like a photo shoot to then maybe doing like a branding, to then doing a packaging, to then maybe doing an exhibition design or a campaign or something like that. I think that's the exciting part of it.
Yeah.
So for me, like the specialist versus generalist thing, there was the saying, like a jack of all trades. I've talked about this before, but like it's seen as a kind of detrimental thing. Like, people say, "Oh, you're a jack of all trades," as if like that's a bad thing. But I kind of see it as the other way about. It's like, if you can still be at a certain level within a lot of different things, that's a benefit not only to you as a person because you're doing something different every time, but also to the client or whoever you're working with, because they can come to you for all of those things instead of having to get 10, 15 different people all doing a part of a larger project.
Mm-hmm.
I'd say where it does have a downfall, and we spoke about that a wee bit there, is the burnout aspect of it, because you kind of spread yourself too thin. So I say it kind of doesn't work for that. But like, I don't know what your take on it is, like, being in a similar position, like kind of one-man setup and stuff. Like, what do you feel about specialist versus generalist?
Yeah, it's like I'm suppose I've not even by choice, but I've just been a generalist, just in that same way. I think it's also down to your own personality, where I kind of get restless with the kind of creative thing, where I just think I love logo design. I really love it when I kind of have to sit there and just, it's like the minimalism of it and condensing it down into that one kind of perfect graphic. And you get back to that sort of Jerry Seinfeld crafting a routine thing. I love that kind of aspect. But if I was to do that all day, every day, but then I love the sort of potential of like a full poster. I love like editorial design. I love so that mix is really enticing for me. If I have one day where I'm like completely minimal and I'm trying to craft this one graphic, and then the next day I'm kind of got loads of like text and photographs, so like I have to sort of merge them into nice editorials. I just love that mix of like, one day. I suppose it's my own best setup here, where this is nice and neat, but it's chaos over there. So I need to fluctuate between the sort of yin and the yang, I think, and that restlessness is just not even like, never even thinking about it and how to market myself or promote myself, but just my own kind of thing is just to actually be constantly working within different sort of disciplines the whole time really excites me. And that, if I haven't done an editorial project for a long time, I'd kind of miss it, and I start thinking about books and stuff that I can make myself. Or similarly, if I start to miss all those other ones if one of those projects hasn't come along in a while. So, but the other thing,
It's good though.
Yeah, the other con I think is just I kind of feel as though it's maybe detrimental to marketing yourself, because I do think that if you are niche, if people I think I'm starting to like really fancy book cover designers. I found like websites for like there's this guy Jack Smith who's a guy in Dublin who's just it's all book covers, and I'm like, actually, if I was to ever niche down, I think the book cover design would be my niche, because he's done quite a few famous books, a few and Booker Prize winners, and it is kind of like a nice marriage between design and art. But I was kind of looking at that, and it just come on a page, and there's all these beautiful book cover designs, and I kind of get in terms of if you were to kind of like contact a publisher and go like, I want to do a book cover design, boom, you just go, Jesus, well, this guy like knows his onions in this field, whereas then if I, with my like hodgepodge of like, here's a brochure I did, here's a logo I did, here's a blah blah blah, I'll do you a book cover, you're like getting confused in terms of like, I'm not really proving myself in that kind of discipline.
No, I totally agree. Like, I struggle with that. Like, I definitely struggle with trying to vocalize like what it is I do, like or even like on the site, like try to explain it without it feeling like a big picking list of stuff, or like I can do all of this sort of stuff. I definitely agree with you there. It is a con, especially when you're trying to market it. But I think where I find peace with that is the fact that I know it's me that has to get up my bed out every day and come to my desk and work. So like for me, it's like, well, it has to be to my benefit that I enjoy doing it and still have the drive and the motivation to do it. So like the only way I can kind of find that is whether I'm still learning new things and kind of jumping on that, or applying myself in different disciplines. That's the only thing that kind of keeps it exciting for me.
Yeah. And I do think that I suppose the advantage, like what similar to yourself in terms of one of the advantages is that you can kind of actually talk to people. Like I think it's better in for small businesses, or like that Chuck and Doris client you said there. It's like you're going to talk about a menu, but then it's actually you end up getting loads more stuff. And I think I feel as though that's kind of an advantage, as well as that if I was just a print designer, let's say, that didn't really do brands or whatever, then you don't have that conversation. And when I go in to speak, I think I want to speak to lots of small businesses, because I've been in the game for so long now. Like I can just speak to them and I could just tell them, even if it's not me that does it, I can even just kind of guide them in terms of like how they could sort their kind of visuals out. If they want to give me the kind of lot of the visual work, but like, sometimes depending on the nature of the business, there's sometimes you'll pick up and you'll be saying like, well, actually you don't need to do, customer facing, or like if they've got a shop front or whatever and they're obsessed with sort of having an online website, you're like, no, just kind of probably better worth your time trying to get punters in and, getting a nice A-board sign and some advertising and print. Mm-hmm. So just even conversations where you can kind of advise more broadly on what, like, especially kind of small business owners, or what they kind of need. And obviously there's that one-to-one experience as well, which I think is great. So I think you kind of put yourself across as a one-man agency, and I feel like that as well, that like, I could offer agency level kind of work, but you just work with me. There's no sort of client handling person that you have to talk to get some amends done, or it's me that you're on the other end of the line. Plus I've kind of got a lot of experience, and I can kind of advise you more on general marketing aspects of your business, etc. Mm-hmm. So I think there's advantage in that respect, rather than I think that's the angle we have to kind of sell ourselves.
Mm-hmm. And it's a trust thing, I think, as well. Like, if at the end of the day the client wants to know that, can you execute on what you've said you can? And whether that is on any one of those disciplines, as long as you're executing to the right level across all of them, they tend to be happy. Like that's the kind of aim, isn't it? Just make sure that you're delivering what you say you can.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Once they leave satisfied at the end of the journey, that's what it's all about.
That's it. Nice.
Cool. Yeah, we fizzled out nicely. That was just over the hour.
I know. Nice.
We came to a nice little kind of fizzle out there where we both did the middle-aged kind of sigh.
I'm doing more and more of them these days. It seems like a lot more like groans when I'm sitting down or standing up as well. It's almost like you need that extra as I'm standing up.
Yeah, I think Martin Clunes was kind of going on about that, just realizing the first time he sat in a chair went, I think there's like, that's totally me, I just go, I enjoy a good sit down, I do kind of have a thing where if I get invited to a pub, I kind of, almost my second question is like, what's the seating arrangement? I'm not one for like standing at the bar all night, this thing used to never concern me, obviously, but now I'm like, is there a good, what's the odds of getting a good seat in there?
Probably.
But cheers, Chris, man. This has been great. And people can find you at Stickman. I'll put all the links down, etc., etc.
Nice.
And I will see you in the down by the Clyde sometime soon. Yeah.
Aye. No, thanks very much for having me on, man. And it's been a unique experience. I've loved the format. I kept it fresh, so that's cool, man.
That was Chris Wilson. I hope you enjoyed the chat as much as I did for the hour. And those hours seem to fly by, which is always a good sign. He's a good guy, does fabulous work. Stickman, STCKMN. No vowels, because vowels are so like 2010. But yeah, go follow him and show him some love. That was a great chat. I'm still out on my walk. I still haven't got back to the studio, so I'm probably going to make this one short again. Do all the algorithmic friendly stuff for me, please, and do the likes and the comments and the subscribing and the following and the sharing and the telling people about it. That all helps, and it'll be great to share this and get some good reach so that I can get some motivation to walk around the freezing cold green. Anyway, thank you all very much for pointing your ears here. As I said at the top of the podcast, I'm going to play the full Mother Night Flakes song. Just type in Mother Night in Bandcamp or your streaming services and you'll find more of his stuff there. So yeah, take it away, Callum.